So thank you for joining me today. This is our first panel that we've had, and it's specifically focusing on those who are serving LGBTQIA plus youth in Marion and across Iowa. So super excited to have you for our first panel. And I wondered if each of you could introduce yourselves and tell me about the organization, where you work, and then the role that you have.
You, me, who?
Erik was here first.
Oh, okay. I'm Erik Trilk. I'm a high school English teacher at Marion High School. I just finished my 15th year teaching. I'm also a middle school cross-country coach, a high school varsity girls soccer coach, and a freshman baseball coach. And I'm the GSA advisor at Marion High School. And this is my first year doing that. Although in years past, I was kind of always a fly on the wall, like when I could, and in between meetings and things like that, and practices after school and things. But this is the first year that we really like kicked it off, you know, in a big way, and had, you know, a really nice core group of kids that would come in every Monday afternoon, and we're, like I said before, like really filled my bucket on Monday afternoons. So.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Kaylyn Fisher, and I am the GSA Coordinator here at Iowa State Schools. So I work primarily with K through 12 youth. We do have a QSO coordinator who works primarily with college groups and students, or folks of that age. But yeah, I work primarily through elementary, middle, and high school, you know, with students across the state of Iowa and even throughout the Midwest. So I'm super excited to be here today.
And I'm Jordan Mix. My pronouns are they, them, and I work with Kaylyn here at Iowa State Schools. I'm the education coordinator here. So I work primarily with K through 12 teachers who are trying to figure out how to better support their students. So I do professional development. I go and do trainings, and I have speaking engagements with different kinds of K through 12 teachers or school support staff. And then I also run all of our online academy. So all 50 classes that anyone can take online, I create and run all of those as well. I ran my high school and college GSAs, got really excited about that kind of work. I was a student who benefited from Iowa State Schools when I went to school in Iowa. And so it's very cool that I get to work with them now. So.
Awesome. And I'm Chanel, and I work at the Marion Public Library. I work specifically in teen and tween services. So we broadly define that as ages 10 to 18. So anywhere between late elementary school, middle school, and high school. So all of us here either work with youth or we are working with the people who work with youth, like educators. So I wondered what specifically drew you to working with that population, to working with those 18 and under?
For me, I wanted to be a teacher since I was in the first grade. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach elementary school until I was a senior in high school, and about a month before I graduated, realized that I wanted to be my English teacher. And so I went to college to do that, thank goodness, because I've done some stuff with at elementary schools and they don't get paid enough. So it is intense teaching little kids like that, holy cow. And so I just always knew that I wanted to be around kids. I had a really positive experience in high school, but at the same time, I knew that there were lots of people around me that had an awful experience in high school. And was very cognizant of that, especially once I became a teacher myself, and really wanted to try and be, you know, there's kind of that famous quote, like, be the person you needed when you were 18, when you were 17, when you were 16 or whatever. And so I just always tried to, like, in all of my classes, be like as energetic and make it as safe as possible. And I tell them constantly, like, this is a safe place. You are safe in this classroom. It's something that like really drew me towards teaching kids, is having that ability to make kids feel safe. And whether when they leave my classroom or they go home, we know that they are in unsafe situations at times, but it was always really important to me to make sure that they knew, like, Marion High School is your home. Like, this classroom, room 20 is your home. Like, you are safe in this room. Like, I will do what I need to do to take care of you and to make you feel safe here, whether it's from your peers or people outside in the hallways or whatever. That was always a thing that, like, again, kind of drew me to that, because like I said, whereas I know that I had a positive experience in school, I had friends that didn't. And I kind of, was like, wish that they had teachers and faculty members and older people that would have made it a lot easier on them. So that was what really drew me in big time. And I love to read. So, I mean, that works, Catcher in the Rye is just sitting here because, we just got done with school stuff. So anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely a really great story of how you were drawn into working with youth. Myself, I was part of the QSO at my college for LGBTQ students. So when I graduated, I really wanted to continue that work and be able to make an impact within the broader LGBTQ community. And I realized that Iowa State Schools really was able to expand those services and programming specifically to LGBTQ youth. And that was really something that, like, throughout high school or even like middle school, I wish I had had access to. So like really being able to be in this position and working, one-on-one or in large or small groups with LGBTQ youth is definitely a great experience. Like Eric mentioned, like not everyone has that great of a coming out story, or maybe they do. Mine was a little bit more on the sadder side. So being able to work with students and make sure that when they are ready to come out, they feel safe and supported and like they're able to be their true, authentic selves.
Yeah, and like I said before, I don't work primarily with students, but that was sort of intentional because even though I definitely see the need for like helping those students, for me, the way that I could do that most effectively was at the structural level by actually helping the adults that interact with the students on a daily basis. I did a lot of work directly with students when I was in college, and I found that while like those in the moment experiences were really great, I was having a hard time sustaining that positivity long term. And what I was hearing from a lot of adults in their lives was that they knew that they wanted to help, but they had no idea where to start or like how to say the right thing. And they were worried about saying anything at all because they were worried that would not be the correct response or the appropriate way to approach a situation. And so I really saw a need there to kind of intervene at the structural level and work with teachers and educators and other youth serving professionals who really have the ability to see these kids every single day and kind of give them the support that they need. And so that's kind of how I found myself in this role.
Awesome, thank you. So the needs of adults and then the needs of those who are K through 18 are very different. I wondered, how is it different serving youth of this population versus adults? Or what do you tell the adults who are in these teens and kids' lives to tell them to consider? That's going to be a little bit different from thinking about the needs of adults.
You are probably far better at answering this, Iowa Safe Schools, because there aren't many adults that I deal with, but I will say this. One of the things that really struck me and kind of like hurt my heart a little bit was that after a few of our GSA meetings, a couple of the kids kind of said, like, we know what classrooms were safer in than others. And that like hurt me like a little bit. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, we just know that there are like some classrooms where like we can be our authentic self and some classrooms where we can't. And I was like, oh my God, like, and it's a total, like a total straight white male privilege thing where I was like, oh, what? I'm always that guy, and like, I've had those experiences, certainly, like throughout, but hearing it come out of the mouths of teenagers is the saddest thing. And so one of the things then after they said that is I said, like, I got you, like, we're going to print off, like, I'm going to print off safe space posters. We're going to put them everywhere. I'm going to put them in the lounge. I'm going to tell every teacher that if they want to put one in there, they can, but if they don't need to. I'm not going to pressure it. But then you will know, like, you will know which teachers specifically, you know, have your back and can be that, you can be that authentic self in there. So whereas like the only I can't say by any means that I have delivered any kind of education towards my coworkers, minus me, like, you know, spouting it off in the teacher's lounge or something like that. But I had private conversations with lots of faculty members where they were like, oh my God, I didn't know that, like, at all. Like, you know, and I said, I think that for a lot of these kids, they just had like something as simple as just putting a safe space sign up that's visible in your room. Like, it really helps. Like, you don't think that it does, but I think it really, really helps. And they were like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that either. Like, oh, that's so great. And I even know that, you know, talking to friends that, like, we're late to the party at Marion High School when it comes to those things. Like, this has happened, but I still think, you know, when after taking, you know, the Iowa Safe Schools course this year, thinking like, well, better late than never. Like, let's do this now. Like, let's do this right now. So, but you all work, you know, far more directly with adults and, you know, teachers and things like that. So.
Yeah, definitely. You know, working with LGBTQ youth has its own fun parts and challenges compared to, you know, maybe the considerations that come along with working with LGBTQ adults. I know one of the biggest things that we encounter in working with the population we do is that a lot of times LGBTQ youth do still reside at home with a parent or guardian, or maybe their families who they don't perceive as being accepting, or they know won't accept them if they choose to come out. So that definitely has its own challenges associated with that. You know, when someone who is an LGBTQ identifying student chooses or wants to go ahead and come out, you know, just working with them to have that safety plan in place if they feel that they need one, or others, you know, affirming that who they are is okay, especially in that younger K through 12 range, you know, being able to work with students that may be victimized through bullying or harassment from some peers or their school environment. Being able to work with them and affirm that who they are is okay, and then also building them up to be successful academically and socially in life before they reach that adult age, so that then they can pursue their, you know, personal goals, personal interests that are beneficial to them and their communities. You know, whether that's post-secondary college education or directly entering the workforce or whatever other pursuits they may take upon them. So being able to set them up for success within their larger community is really important, and touches on part of the reason why, you know, working with K through 12 youth is so important. So Jordan, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think as Kaylyn said, these students are going through so much in different capacities, but all teenagers, I think, regardless of who they are kind of dealing with a lot, especially LGBTQ youth. And so I what's really important to me is helping educators. So Erik, I'm so encouraged to hear you say like this experience with Iowa Safe Schools was so positive, and that through that and the conversations you were having with your students, you were kind of able to identify this problem and so quickly get all these other teachers on board. Like, that's incredible to hear. Because what I kind of find is that teachers know that their students are just these really incredible people, but they might not know that they're going through all of these things in their head, because our students, they don't exist in this vacuum, right? Like, when they come into your classroom, like, they're carrying with them everything else from their day, whatever's going on at home, whatever's going on with their friends and in their own minds. And so helping teachers kind of understand what their students might be going through, I found has made just a tremendous difference in the way that they feel like they can support their students. And sometimes just voicing that need has helped students succeed, you know, like tenfold. And so I think students know what they're going through, and sometimes teachers don't. And so for me, the biggest difference between the two is when I'm working with students, I'm kind of helping them make their next steps to kind of get through whatever situation they're in. And with teachers, I'm making them aware of those situations so that they can figure out how to be this best support system they can be.
Great, thank you. And we were talking a little bit about this before the official panel began, but 2020 has been a little bit different just because of the global pandemic going on. And I wondered, how have teens and youth that you've encountered, or are there stories that you know of how they've transitioned their celebrations and their activism and advocacy? And how have they been flexible and adapted that now to the reality that we're living in?
I think it's been tough for my students. I don't know. I mean, again, the contact that I've made with my students has been strictly through email, and then a handful of them through text messages. What I see mostly is just through social media. There's just they are a handful of students are being very vocal about Pride Month and through their social media accounts. I feel like I wish that I could do more to like help them, but we are like, it is such a strange time right now, and we are so limited and in what we can do outside and all of that. So I was again, we were just talking before he came on, like I was so looking forward to, kind of the Pride Festival downtown. I have a student whose family always has like a booth down there, and we were really going to try and become, do a Marion High School one and become involved in it in a great way, and then it just kind of stopped, in mid-March. So, I mean, minus them sharing links about, I've seen a lot of different links in things where you can take virtual museum visits and things like that celebrate LGBTQ people, and that's been really cool. But unfortunately, I haven't seen a ton, minus the social media stuff, really, just because it's such a, again, yeah, like you said, such a strange time.
No, definitely. That's something that we've seen too, is, like students are really using social media to connect with their peers, and to respect the social distancing protocols that may be going on. And that's something that at Iowa State Schools we've really tried to think about and be conscious with in our programming. So we do offer virtual GSAs right now, which is like a twice weekly meeting where students from around the state can sign in and join in on what we're calling GSA meetings, but really it's just a time for students to learn and connect. So we do have that virtual GSA programming. And then one story that I like to share is we actually had a student reach out who was asking for advice on hosting their own Pride celebration with their friends. So that was super encouraging and exciting to see. So, we sent like a little package out to them with a few Pride supplies so they could hold their own party. And they were just so thrilled to receive that. It was so cool. Empowering students to be able to hold their own version of Pride is really important to us. And being able to continue that tradition of like recognizing why we have Pride Month and knowing that like just because a pandemic may be going on doesn't mean that we have to stop celebrating who we are and celebrating Pride Month.
Yeah, and we've done a couple different things like this from different organizers across the state who were really trying to make sure they're still reaching LGBTQ youth who are second home, just kind of reinforcing the fact that we might be like socially distant, but we're not alone, and we can also kind of meet here together virtually. We've also seen just tremendous increase in our enrollment for our online academy, which is really awesome and very encouraging to me because it says that teachers know that students might really be struggling and they're trying really hard to prepare themselves for what's going to happen in the fall. We offer a class called Transforming Trauma, and that one, like, registration has tripled from what it normally is. And also, obviously, right now our Black Lives Matter class has been really popular, trying to make sure that we're preparing ourselves, having these conversations with students when we go back. And so that has been super encouraging to see, just that teachers know that their students are going through it, and teachers are going through it, and just the community that I've been able to see of teachers supporting each other through these classes has been really incredible. So I think, yeah, I've been really encouraged, even though this time has been really difficult.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that like we're on our social media, like we're still promoting Pride Month and further engagement in Pride activities through the not even like just specifically the LGBTQ community, but the larger geographical community that we inhabit. And it's really interesting to see students and even like educators and those that support them, be innovative with their ideas and kind of overcome that barrier and be like, you know what, we're still going to have a Pride Month. So.
That's great. So that's the perfect lead into my next question too. So the 21st century library is about more than books. It's about community and about connecting folks with resources and information that they need. So one of my favorite questions is, what is one resource or a few that you wish everyone knew about? So we were talking a little bit about them right now, but do each of you have either a book, a website, an organization, any type of resource you wish people knew about?
Yeah, Iowa Safe Schools. That's it. Like, I've been waiting all meeting here to get this plug in. I mean, here's the thing. Well, I'm going to pump up Iowa Safe Schools for a second here, okay? So my wife is a special education teacher at Metro High School in Cedar Rapids, which is the alternative high school down there, and had taken a couple of courses through Iowa Safe Schools, the Black Lives Matter one being the first one, and then she was able to Humanize My Hoodie came into Metro, and she was able to do a bunch like that. And so she was like, I needed to recertify, and like, have you done Iowa Safe Schools? And then I legit got addicted to Iowa Safe Schools and took like one and then another one, and ended up taking like 4 classes all just like in a row. And what Iowa Safe Schools is doing, and the communication that I've had with them throughout the year, the help that they've given me with starting this GSA, because I've been in constant contact with them, it is such an incredible tool for teachers and educators and community members and whoever to have Iowa Safe Schools in their back pocket. I can't give enough of like a glowing recommendation about the experiences that I've had really since I started taking courses in early October. I've been basically in contact with people through Iowa Safe Schools. So it's I feel like it's made me a better teacher. I feel like the amount of time that I spend talking about it to my colleagues, that now they've all taken courses through it, and we're just like, spread the love, because I mean, these are highly affordable classes. The work is appropriate for it. It is stuff that I can apply in my classroom that day or the next day. You know, you hear teachers talk about a lot, especially during professional development, like, I need something that I can use in my classroom tomorrow. Like, this is all well and good that you got this speaker coming in and he's talking, you know, telling us, I need something tomorrow that I can use at 8 o'clock when the bell rings. And that it has been, Iowa Safe Schools and these courses I've taken have just really, really helped me out. And I could talk about books and all that stuff, but I just keep staring at your like big, beautiful logo here right behind you. And I just can't like not look at it. It's like all over my classroom now and like whatever. So anyway, just mad props, Iowa Safe Schools. I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you so much. That is so cool and awesome to hear. That's incredible. I'm so happy to hear. Kaylyn, do you have any resources that you specifically wish that like students had before I get to mine?
Yeah, one thing that really pops into my head is like the SLC student leadership group that we have. It's really the cornerstone of our GSA program. And there is a college version of this too, but I'm going to promote my own program here. But SLC is really that cornerstone of our program. Like I said, they're an advisory group of high school students that really drive, you know, what are we able to do for GSAs and how are we able to support them throughout the state. Student leadership council students are also able to, you know, connect directly with legislators or other community folks throughout the state, really. And like with that once-a-month meeting, students feel engaged and empowered to have their voices heard. We also do fun activities throughout the year, like planning a queer hangout for other high school students. So being able to give them the resources and leadership skills that they need to do that is really cool. So that's one resource that we have. Jordan, what's your favorite resource?
Yeah, so again, speaking for the educators, I wish that my high school teachers had access to something like this. But Iowa Safe Schools has created full curriculum packets. So right now that we have the elementary school one and the middle school one available for purchase, the high school one is in development and will be ready by this fall. But essentially it's 100-ish pages of ways to integrate inclusive curriculum in lessons you're already teaching. So we go through, a book club, like several books with different angles to analyze those books, to encourage conversations on equity and friendship, and depending on the grade level. We have ways to incorporate queer history into history lessons you're already teaching. We talk about why it's so important to kind of build this foundation of kindness and fairness and equality from very young ages. And so those are the school-wide pride guides. Again, we have the middle school and elementary school ones available for purchase. And the high school one will be ready this fall. And they are just very, very, very cool. I got to be a part of making the middle school one. And it was a very neat experience to be some teacher's going to hold this and it's going to make all the difference in the world to these students in their classroom. And so that is very cool. And I just wish that all the teachers knew that it was out there because they could make that difference for students for years to come. And the second one, which is one that Kaylyn actually reminded me of earlier today through a conversation we were having, is there is an online resource that is not affiliated with Iowa Safe Schools, but I do think it's really important because it specifically is aimed to help parents and loved ones of trans and non-binary kids understand their kid better or their loved one better. And it's available through a website called My Kid Is Gay. And it's very comprehensive and beautifully done. And it just, I know that it really helped my family a lot when I came out. And just kind of helped them kind of make those touchdowns a lot easier. It involves printable worksheets that you can have guided journaling questions to go through. And it's a very cool resource. And I think any parents who are I know that I love and support my kid, but I don't really know what that means right now, I think it's really helpful for them.
Yeah, and like Erik was saying, just the fact that we as Iowa Safe Schools exist, if any K through 12 youth or even really any youth are looking for resources, or maybe parents have questions, like Jordan said about their kid coming out or transitioning, we're always able to help and happy to do so. You can always send me an email at Kaylyn, Kaylyn, at iowasafeschools.org. And we're always able to help out with any questions or needs that the LGBTQ youth may need.
Yeah, and Kaylyn also does run our Affirming Resources Library on Iowa Safe Schools website. And so those are totally free resources. Parents or students or kids, you do elementary school too, right? So elementary school through high school, and then parents can also just, be these are 3 books that I feel I really need right now, and they're totally free, and we'll just mail them to you. And so Kaylyn runs all that, and that is just a very cool resource for, I think, teachers and students to have in their back pocket if they don't have access to those materials on their own.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the reasons we have that is because research has shown that if LGBTQ students are able to see themselves in a book, or have that affirming resource as a book, hence the name Affirming Resource Library, it really does help out with mental health and being socially being able to have that social connection with that character.
I'm really glad that you brought, another thing I was going to say, and I'm really glad that you brought this up about creating that curriculum, is that I think that the historical implications of being, someone in the LGBTQ community, especially in this country over the past 50 plus years, is something that's kind of swept under the rug in a lot of classrooms throughout America. That students, especially those that are strong allies or those that identify, they need to know about these queer influencers over the past 50 years and know that these people have been around as long as everyone else. But, and there have been these historical implications and historical events that have taken place and occurred. And they don't learn about these things unless they reach out and try and find it themselves on a website or read a book or something like that, where this is just as much of a part of American history as so many other things that are taught in those social studies classrooms. So creating that curriculum is awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think too, as we see more and more states kind of putting mandates for social studies curriculum to include LGBTQ history, I am obviously in full support of that, but I think it leaves a lot of educators kind of being like, well, I don't know how to do that though, and I'm not even sure where to start with kind of finding that. And so I think this is in Iowa where that's not the law of the land yet. I think it's really helpful to kind of give those educators a head start to be like, okay, like these are things you can start thinking about and ways that you can implement this curriculum into your lessons you're already teaching, if Iowa does get to that point, which would be.
Awesome. So the whole time that you were talking, I was writing notes, trying to be subtle and keep my hands down so you couldn't see them flying all over the keyboard. We have we have a portion on our website that's called Teen Life. So we go there if teens have a question that we can't answer right off the bat, and teens can also self-direct themselves there. And these are great resources that we can add there, but also for our staff to know, to help some educators if they come to us looking for help, or to help students if they have questions. So thank you. And then my last question for the night is, how can adult community members best support teens in the community and also your organizations or clubs?
The first thing I would say was give them jobs, give these kids jobs. You know, I mean, a big thing is I've had students that say, like, I understand I'm not going to get this job because of the way I look, which is insanity. It's 2020 and this is crazy. All the kids need jobs regardless of what they look like. But I think that that is that's a big thing, is for these students to be able to feel comfortable being in our community, who they are. And I think that's a big part of it. One of the things that we've done, we've reached out to handfuls of businesses around here, just to, like, not even ask for anything, but just to say, like, hey, like, this is who we are. I want to make sure that you know that we're aware, and we have these students are going to be in your stores and in your restaurants and things like that. And you can make them feel more welcome by just doing simple things. Again, putting safe space posters up, by doing things that are so, like, simple that, again, they may not have even thought of. You know, and I think another thing too is, and you know, it's right now in 2020 with everything that's going on, especially over the past 2 weeks or so, being open-minded and, most importantly, being empathetic is the most important thing. You know, I remember when President Obama was running for re-election and said, like, the problem with the United States is that we have an empathy deficit. That's what we have, is this, we have this empathic deficit where we are not paying attention to people. We are not listening to people. When people speak to us, all we're thinking about is how we'll respond instead of just listening. And I think that is such an important thing. And what I've learned in GSA the most, I mean, and in just being a teacher, but, like, they don't want to hear me talk. They want me to listen. And that is what is so, like, it can make adults feel so much better to stop trying to fix things and just listen. Just be there for that person, you know, be the empathetic person and not the sympathetic person. And I think that I'm hoping, at least, that we are getting to a point, and we got a long ways to go in many ways, but I hope that we're getting to a point where students, especially those that are younger, are seeing that there are adults that are in their corner. Because I just know, looking back at the past 20 years of when I graduated high school, it was for friends of mine that were members of the LGBTQ community, it was hard. And I'm not saying that right now it is not hard for these kids. But what I'm saying is that I hope that they feel like there are more people that have their back, or certainly more than did when they were younger.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I know one thing that I always looking for is, being able, having folks who are willing to help us out on our mission, whether it's through the Affirming Resource Library or, the GSA visits and everything. Like, we do give physical and online resources to those GSA and queer student groups. So, being able, folks are able to support us in our mission with that, either through donating or, showing up at our conferences and supporting their kids who are at the conference, or even just, being engaged with like our social media, supporting our mission on there. So being able to be a person that is not only showing up for LGBTQ youth, but also supporting them and those who work to support and affirm who they are. Jordan, did you have anything that?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Iowa Safe Schools, some like concrete ways that community members can get involved, like physically and like be there with us, would be at things like the Governor's Conference and the Spirit Awards, which are very cool opportunities to both see the impact of the work that adults who affirm queer students can have on them, and also kind of get to know them, especially at the Governor's Conference, which is like a youth-centered event. So we have like really awesome workshops for the adults in the room too, but it's a very cool environment to see all of these kids kind of like so comfortable in who they are just for the afternoon. And so, whether you're, purchasing a registration for the Governor's Conference to make sure that you're getting those resources, or, a table at the Spirit Awards to really like be there to affirm the students who we're recognizing and the educators who we're recognizing. I just think those are very cool ways to see like tangential or like tangible impacts that this work is having on kids.
Yeah, like it definitely brought up two of our largest events that the community can get involved in. We love seeing others engaged in our mission and our work because that in turn means that there is more engagement in helping the LGBTQ community overall and really building up that support and engagement from community members.
Well, thank you. And is there anything else that you would like to add I haven't asked about, or if you have a piece of advice you want to throw out? Any final words that you have?
Like I said, be empathetic, be kind, listen. I think that these are it's things that like I constantly preach to students and tell the students and say like, you're going to get sick of me hearing this stuff. And I know that I'm like the adult and I'm this teacher speak and I'm supposed to say all these things, but also like, 39 years old now, and like, I would much rather be around nice people than mean people. I'd much rather be around people that are open-minded than those that aren't, and that doesn't mean that I can't get along with those people, but I'm just saying like the older you get, and your friend group starts to shrink and shrink and shrink a little bit just through, circumstances. Being nice is the best advice that you can give people. I always joke with them on the first day of class when I give them my rule list, and it's just work hard and be nice. I'm always joke like I'm gonna get it tattooed on my arm, but like you will go so far in life by just like work hard and be nice. Just be those two things, and I think that's the biggest thing. We can all benefit. Wherever we live in our communities, we can all benefit from people just taking care of everyone else, taking care of the people around them, no matter who they are, what they look like or anything. Let's just take care of each other. That's kind of that's the motto, right? That's the creed for all of us. So.
Yeah, definitely. I can't echo that enough. Just empathy is so, so important, just to recognize that, everybody is going through what they're going through, and that being nice just cannot hurt anything. It is always, you're always going to walk away from the situation with the least amount of regret if you know that you were at least nice. And so that is so important. I think for any students watching, from my perspective, I just want to let you know that there are so many adults in the state who are trying so hard to be there for you. And so they might not be perfect all the time. And teachers, I need you to hear that you don't have to be perfect all the time, but I see that you're trying, and that is so important. And to all the students, like, your teachers really care about you, and they are working really hard to make sure that they can show up for you every single day.
Yeah, definitely. And especially like with the school year, as much as it hurts to say this, coming up soon again. It definitely, I think one piece of advice I would give to students is, be willing to jump in, and like maybe if your school doesn't have a GSA yet, get together with a few supporting friends or other LGBTQ folks at your school and start that GSA. Like, again, reach out to me. We're more than happy to help start up that GSA. Or even if you're, a student looking for a little bit more, reach out to folks in your community, ask what you can do, like whether it's volunteering, maybe an internship, being engaged that way and building up not only your community, but also yourself that way too, and building up that skill set that you have. And, really just being open to the opportunities that may be presented to you, I think is something that I would say to students, Yeah. So.
To everyone, I mean, if you want to connect with us, with Iowa Safe Schools on social media, like we have opportunities come up all the time, just for especially for right now, just virtual things that we're doing. We have a handful of those planned for throughout the summer. So any students who are feeling a little down and just want to connect, if you want to keep up with us online, then, we have those opportunities coming up all the time.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving up a little bit of your evening and coming to talk to us.